Hello everybody and welcome back to the wireless penetration testing section. Now in the previous video we saw how we can actually put our wireless networking card into monitor mode. Now that we know how to do that, we will continue with the usage of the aircrack program that is pre-installed in Kali Linux, and it is used in order to capture the four-way handshake and in order to crack the four-way handshake. So open up your terminal, and before we begin, as I said, we need to put our card into monitor mode. Now that we know how to do it, I will just go over it briefly. So I have config, then my wireless network interface, then I put it down, then IW config, my wireless interface, and then mode monitor in order to put it into the monitor mode. Since, as I already said, it is by default set in the managed mode, and in the monitor mode we can inspect all of the packets around us. So we need a monitor mode, so let me just put my interface back up now, and we are good to go. Now the first thing that I want to use, let me just make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. The first thing that I want to use, or that I want to show you, is a simple command that looks something like this, airmon. So just type in your Kali Linux terminal, if you're using this on Kali Linux, airmon ng, and then check, and then the name of your wireless network interface. Now what this will do is basically it will list all the processes that could potentially cause some trouble in the process of capturing the four-way handshake. Now these are all processes connected to your network manager. So as it says right here, we can read it. It says found 4 processes that could cause trouble. If airodump ng, airplay ng, or airturn ng stops working after a short period of time, you may want to kill some of them. Now this basically means that it can cause trouble in this process of capturing the four-way handshake. Now if you will probably have all of these processes as well, and since my own experience, you can only actually put down the network manager and the VBA supplicant. The daemon processes basically come back, they respawn after you kill them. Now in order to kill, now you can use 2 methods to kill these processes. You can just type here kill and then the process ID, which would be A61. And then you run this again. That is one way to kill the process, and the other way is to kill them all at once. So just type here airmon ng, check, kill, and then your network interface, and it will kill all the processes that could cause you trouble. So now if we run once again to see if there are any processes, there are not any at the moment, but some of them might respawn later on, but you shouldn't really worry that much about it. They probably won't cause you trouble then. So now that we did that, we want to basically set our network card once again into monitor mode, since after you finish this process of killing all of these processes, as you can see, your card will be put back into managed mode. So after you kill all of these processes, you want to set your card once again into monitor mode. So the same 3 commands that we used before, and ifconfig fwlo1 down, up, and now if we check with iwconfig, our card is currently, as you can see, in monitor mode, which is good. So the next thing you want to do is basically, now you want to inspect all of the wireless networks around you. Now you do that with the command called airodump -ng, and all you need to do right now is basically specify your networking wireless interface. So in my case that is WLO1, and in your case it will be basically anything that you output with this command. So as we can see, it's right here. Don't use the same as I use. I need to repeat once again. or this won't work. So let us just run airodump ng and then WLO1, and as you can see, it will start listing all of the wireless networks around me. Now, as we can see right here, it prints out a bunch of other options as well. Now, the first thing you might notice, and that is familiar to you, are these right here, which stands under the column of SSID, which is basically just the names of the wireless. So, for example, if you were to take your mobile phone and turn on wireless, you would be seeing all of these names right here. Now, the wireless that we will be testing will be this one right here, since it is my own wireless and I have permission to test on it. You should not be testing this method or any other method of attack on any wireless you do not own or do not have permission to attack. So that's why I will use my own wireless. Now, let's start off with the next column next to the name of the wireless, which is basically auth and stands for authentication, and we can see there are a bunch of these PSK, which is private share key, which is just the method of authentication, and the cipher is which cipher it uses. Now, my wireless uses TKIP and most of the others use CCMP. That is not really that relevant to our attack right now. Encryption is, as we can see, VPA2, or in some cases it is VPA, which also doesn't really matter in our case, since we will be attacking with the same method both of these. And also we can see that there really isn't VPA3 yet, so there is really no point in trying to exploit that. For now on we will stick to the VPA2. The channel is also something important. The channel is something that you will specify in the next command. It is the channel basically on which your wireless access point is running on. This data is basically, as it says, data that is flowing beacons. Now, beacons is basically a network frame for the wireless, for the wireless access point, which basically shows others that it is present. It is basically just there to show its presence. And this PWR column right here is basically showing you how far away your wireless access point is. So basically, the smaller the number, the closer to you the wireless access point is. Now, in my personal case, this method won't work on any access point that is larger than -75, because that means that that access point is too far from us, and we will not be able to capture the four-way handshake or de-authenticate anyone at that distance. So if you wanted to, for example, test any of these lower wireless access points, you would need to get closer to them in order to perform the attack. And the last column right here is the BSSID, which is basically the MAC addresses, the physical addresses of the wireless access points, which is also really important and which you will use in our attack. So, in order to stop this, since as we can see this is in live mode, which means it updates every second the state of these wireless access points, you just press Ctrl+C, and you can also inspect it in static mode, as we can see right here, which is good when you want to copy something. If it's running in live mode, you really can't copy anything. Now, the next command we want to do, now that we decided which wireless access point are we attacking, and now that we saw the options for it, which this one are we attacking, which is temperature, the channel is 3 for that wireless access point, and the MAC address is this one for our wireless access point. Now that we know all of that, we want to type next command, which is airodump -ng, then -c, and this -c stands basically for channel. So after that you just type here space and see on which channel is your access point running. In my case that is channel number 3. And once you do that, you type after that space and then --BSSID. Now, as we can see from the table right here, the BSSID is basically this column right here. So after this we need to specify the MAC address of our wireless access point, which in my case is this one. So I copy it, I paste it right here, and now now basically that we did that, we can actually run this command and it will only focus on our own wireless access point, and it will also see which devices are connected to it, or basically the MAC addresses of the devices that are connected to it. Now it gave me the error because I didn't specify the WLO1, which is my wireless network interface, so you need to specify it in every command, as I said. So basically just enter now. And you can see that right now we only see our wireless access point that we are testing. And soon we should see some of the MAC addresses popping up right here, which basically shows the devices that are connected to the access point. As we can see, there is one, which is basically my, I believe, mobile phone. Now, not really sure if there is any other connected at the moment. I mean, I'm not connected on my laptop and I'm not connected on my PC, so it's probably it, which is enough. Basically, one user on the wireless is enough for us to deauthenticate it and make him reconnect and capture the four-way handshake. But how do we do that? Now that we know how to specify a single wireless access point in order to scan it, now we will use the same command here and we will write the output to a file. So just press Ctrl+C and you can basically just arrow up. So this is the same command right here, and before we specify the wireless network interface, we want to type here -v command, and which stands for basically write to a file and then the name of the file. We can name the file basically anything we want, but let me just nano to the desktop first so it saves it there, and let us just run the same command once again. Or not the same, we want to specify -w and then name of the file. I will just name my file scan. So now that we named our file, now we need to specify the network interface, so WLO1, and we run the same command. And as we can see right here, it is now writing the stuff that it captures in the file. So the next thing we want to do now that it's writing it in the file is basically deauthenticate. Let me just zoom this in. Deauthenticate everyone on the wireless access point. As we can see, we can actually perform that without being able to actually be connected, without being connected to the wireless access point. So how do we run the deauthentication attack? We run it with the airplay -ng, and then we specify -0 and then 0, which basically stands to deauthenticate, to set the authentication packets forever, basically until we close the program. The next thing we want to do is type here -a, and after -a we paste the MAC address of our wireless access point, which you can also copy from right here. Now that we specify that, only thing that we need to specify right now is the wireless network interface. So in my case WLO1. Now that we did that, just press here enter and you will see that it is running the authentication attack. Now this will run until we stop it, and all the devices are now disconnected from the wireless access point. My mobile phone, you can't see it, but it currently got disconnected, and as soon as I stop this right here with Ctrl+C, it will connect back to the wireless access point, and right here we should see the VPA handshake, as we can see it right here. So we successfully got the VPA four-way handshake, and we can now Control+C this program as well. So it written the four-way handshake into the file. Now that we got the file, we will basically continue in the next tutorial, and I will cut the tutorial short right here, and I will explain all the 4 files that we got and what we can do with it and what we should do with it. Now that's about it for this tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope I see you in the next one. Bye!